tissue from the corn borer that bores into the stem, you get some dead tissue. There's a fusarium, there's a fungus that colonizes that dead tissue, yeah, and it produces a food toxin that is very bad. It has been associated with cancer of the esophagus, for example. So in this particular case, we can say that the new technology is actually safer than conventional technology. And this would be a very significant benefit for Kenya when you introduce your biotech maize in the future. About 2 to 3 trillion meals have been prepared using GM crops over that 16-year period. And to my knowledge, not even a suggestion of an issue. So we can say that this technology is as safe as conventional technology and sometimes safer. We feel that the endorsement of the academies of science from countries in the developing world and the industrial countries, these academies are the pinnacle institutions in science, have looked at this technology and have endorsed it. Academies ranging from UK, London, the Royal Society of London, the US Academy, Mexico, China, have taken a look at this technology and made responsible decisions based on science that this technology is safe. So it's as safe as safe can be.
All right. Of course, I'd want to invite your questions and comments to the number 8040. We're talking about GMO, and I'm hosting Dr. Clive James, who's saying that it's time as Kenya we embrace GMO. It's safe, like you just heard. And if you have any questions or comments, please do text in. The number is 8040. I'll be glad to share with him your comments and questions. Let's just take a look at some of the comments and questions which are coming up. Why only in 3 continents, Europe excluded? Are they against GMOs? That's Nyaberi from Nairobi.
Well, in any society, you're not going to get 100% saying the same thing. So this is quite normal, that you will have shades of opinion about any technology, whether it's biotechnology or other scientific technology. Now, it's important to note, Betty, that ISA respects that diversity of opinion. Science has always encouraged a diversity of views because that's the way in which you can advance. We believe, though, that this technology is not well understood. And this is why we have a program dedicated to sharing knowledge whilst respecting the rights of others to make decisions based on that knowledge base. If we look at a country like Spain in Europe, it grows about 100,000 hectares of biotech maize. Now, it does that in the context of coexistence. What does coexistence mean here? By spacing, by allowing space between the crops, you can grow conventional maize, organic maize, and biotech maize all in the one area. It's been done. Spain has practiced it for a long time. So you can see here that there's a way of catering to the different groups in society. Yeah? And we should always respect that. We believe that the technology, that biotechnology is very powerful. And you should know what you are giving up when in fact you decide not to use the technology. Over the last 15 years, we've asked the question responsibly as a scientific community, is there any risk associated with the use of this technology? And now we have a very compelling, convincing, and consistent database in support of the technology. It is safe from a food point of view. It is good for the environment. It can contribute to the alleviation of poverty. Yeah? Those are very, very important benefits indeed. The one technology able to do the whole of this. For example, in 2011, you had 16.7 million farmers using this technology on a global basis. That's up 1.3 million from 2010 in the previous year. But what is remarkable, Betty, is that 90% of those 16.7 million farmers were small, resource-poor farmers. Now, the critics of this technology, prior to 1996, which was the genesis of commercialization, said, this is a technology for the industrial north, for the rich, for the large farmers. It will never cater for the needs of small farmers. Well, today, 15 million small farmers, representing some of the poorest people in the world, enjoy the benefits of this technology. Where are they? There are 7 million small farmers in China. How small is small? 1/2 of 1 hectare. Income, less than $2 a day. Now, these farmers are getting benefits equivalent to about $220 per hectare increase. That is a fortune for these people. That's why you've got 7 million there. And we can ask the question, is 7 million in China an aberrant factor? Is it just in China? No. You've got exactly the same thing happening in India. There are 7.4 million small farmers in India, which grows more cotton than any country in the world, benefiting from this technology. And let me enumerate the benefits. Don't let me be general. Typically, an Indian farmer farms about 1.5 hectare. He or she increases yield by 31%, decreases pesticide application by 39%, increases profitability by 88%, and that amounts to up to $220 per hectare increase. So it's very important then that this technology can be used, and it has the potential in Kenya to bring the benefits to the poorest of the poor in terms of farmers. When we look at poverty today, we have approximately 1 billion people. 70% of that is in agriculture. Many people will say that's a big problem. We say it's a big opportunity, because if you can use technology, and small farmers are the best judges of technology, because if they make a mistake, survival is at stake. The large farmer, profit is at stake. So they're very careful before adopting this technology. The fact that you've got 16.7 million farmers using this technology globally is, I think, the best evidence that we have. We can ask the question, do you believe the critics who say this technology has done nothing for nobody? Or do you believe millions of farmers in 29 countries over a 16-year period who have used this technology, and once they've used it, they are repeat customers? Why? Because it delivers benefits. And I can assure you that if the technology does not work, it is farmers who are the first to reject it, and they will do so ruthlessly. So the evidence is very clear in terms of the benefits.
Dr. Clive, just before we get in detail about the farmers, talking about misconceptions, what misconceptions have you gotten, being an expert in this field for quite a long time, about GMO, which are false?
First question was, is it safe from a food point of view? A misconception, judgment made before the scientific facts were looked at from a scientific point of view. Second, that it could not contribute to a better and more sustainable environment. Decrease in pesticides. Conservation of water. The fact that this technology can be used with no till, this means no plowing, allows you to conserve water. Agriculture uses 70% of all the fresh water in the world. Not sustainable as we move forward. And the fact that this technology could not make a contribution to climate change. We believe that the evidence is very strong. In fact, the evidence shows that in 2010 alone, we were able to decrease CO2 emissions by 19 billion kilograms. That's equivalent to taking 9 million cars off the road. Very significant. And for Borlaug, Norman Borlaug, if he was with us today, he would say by far the most important benefit from this technology is that it contributes to the alleviation of poverty. Already we see in 2011 that you've got 15 million small farmers and their families. That's a total of about 50 million people benefiting from this technology. And we've only seen a very, very small area where the technology has been deployed to date. The potential for the future is absolutely enormous.
All right. We have so many text messages coming in. Let's just take a few of them. But maize is based on the fact that bacteria produce toxins that kill pests that attack maize. Are the same toxins not harmful to humans?
No. It so happens that BT, the toxin involved in BT, has been used as an insecticide by organic farmers. The specificity of the toxin here is very important because it is toxic for insects but not to mammals.
Okay, that has answered that. Let's take another one here. In your opinion, do you think there should be a balance between GMO and non-GMO? This technology is still young to assure every human of its security.
If we look at the adoption of this technology, the genesis of commercialization was 1996. It increased from 1.7 million hectares in 1996 to 160 million hectares in 2011. That is 2.5 times the total land area of Kenya, which is 58 million hectares. Now, that makes it the fastest adopted crop technology in the history of agriculture. Why? Because it delivers benefits. Benefits in terms of increased production, decreased application of pesticides, good for the environment, alleviation of poverty, major benefits. But we would not be arrogant and say that this is the only technology. I told you earlier that we believe that this should be looked at as a new but powerful tool in the toolbox that we as society have for increasing food production in the future. And there's something else about food production. You know, if we can use this technology to significantly increase food production, you can also do something else that is very important. That is, it makes a contribution to a more peaceful world. Yeah? Norman Borlaug used to say, you cannot build peace on empty stomachs. He was right. And if we look at the events of the Arab Spring that started in Tunis, that went on to Egypt, much of that, not all of it, much of that was due to the fact that poor people could not afford food. So we would put the case very strongly, based on scientific evidence, that this technology is capable of delivering very important benefits in terms of alleviation of poverty. But for those people who do not want to use the technology, there should also be an opportunity. And as I said earlier, happily that opportunity exists. You can cater for those people who want to depend only on organic agriculture or only on conventional technology, or if they want to avail themselves of the significant benefits and substantial benefits that this technology offers, then they should be able to do so. You always have a balance. And we have talked about biotechnology as one element within the broad basket of biotechnology. There are many other applications. One of them is called marker selection. This is using phenotypic markers to speed up the breeding program, MAS. Yeah? These are applications, and this is a technology that is almost like electronics, yeah? Developing 24 hours of the day, 7 days a week, every day of the month. Yeah? So the generation of new applications is occurring all the time. And we've only seen the tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
The question I think that people with different views should ask themselves is, once you've asked the question, what is the risk in using this technology? And as I told you, we have a very strong scientific database in support of the technology. One should also ask the question on the flip side of that coin. And that question is, what is the risk in not using the technology? For example, what is the risk for Kenya in not using this technology? Well, number one, you give up all the advantages that in fact I've just listed for you in the first 16 years.
Yes.
You will deny Kenyans of the opportunity of using very powerful science that can deliver not only physical benefits but socioeconomic benefits. And you will become disadvantaged compared with others. You may not be able to feed your people in 2050. So these two questions are very important. If you ask one,
yes,
you must ask the other.
Okay.
I think in the case of Kenya, they have looked at this, and this is why you've got endorsement of the technology from the President himself and from the Ministry of Higher Education, Science and Technology.
Okay. Let's just take another message here. Italy has rejected GMO maize. Mexico has rejected GMO maize as well. And here in Africa, Malawi. Do you think at the heart of GMO is the privatization of food production and hence multinational control of food?
If you look at any technology, when it's a new technology, you get polarity of ownership. It's owned by a small group. In fact, it's owned by the group that first make the investments at a time when it's a risky investment.
Yes.
Now, it was the transnationals that made that investment 16 years ago or more. But what you see today is that the new investors and the big investors are the public sector from the south, not from the north. The programs in Asia, in Latin America, and indeed in Africa, who are they? They are China, probably the biggest investor in this new technology. Yeah. China has 20% of the world's population and only 6% of the arable land. When Jiang Zemin was asked, why are you investing in biotechnology? He said it's a simple answer. China wants to be least dependent on others for food, feed, and fiber. It's a strategic issue. India is doing the same thing. President Lula, who left office with a 70% approval, was a great champion of this technology. And today, Brazil, the public sector, the institution of Embrapa, the equivalent of CARI in Kenya, is making huge investments in here, and in fact is already putting programs into place that will take some of the conventional technology and some of the biotechnology applications from Brazil to Africa. You know, if you go back to geological history, Latin America and Africa were one.